Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over NFL Week 12. No, there was not any UFC this weekend. That's why there has not been a video up. However, I mean, it was a holiday. I hope everyone had a good holiday with their friends and family. I hope everyone had things to be thankful for. And I know I sure as hell am about to be thankful for all the money we are about to get this weekend. There's a good slate of games here. Again, we had 3 Thursday night games, so not as many to bet on going on now, but you just got to make them count. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into it here. The Buffalo Bills won, so that's a good reason to be thankful on their way to the Super Bowl. Losing Trey White was big, but you go on keeping on. So the first game we have listed here are the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I actually have the Bengals as favorites here, as basically 4-point favorites. Now it's minus 3.5. And honestly, that half point might deter me from choosing the Bengals, in all honesty. I think Pittsburgh isn't good, but I think that the Bengals also have some struggles here. I think they are good, but they are liable to kind of shit the bed from time to time. So field goal game, I would probably lean Bengals winning more than a field goal, with Pittsburgh getting healthy. Buffalo played a healthy Pittsburgh, and it's a lot tougher than a dismantled one. So I'll actually take the Steelers to cover just because of that 3.5. That's what's pushing me over the edge here. In regard to the over-under at 45, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think the under, in all honesty, is probably the thing that's going to hit, but I feel a lot more comfortable with the Steelers winning, or not even winning, but at least covering on the road. At that point, on a fantasy perspective, honestly, the Steelers only have 4 players that you can use. You can't use Big Ben, but you can use Deontay Johnson. You can use Najee Harris. You can start Chase Claypool, and you can start Pat Freiermuth. That's their whole offense. So, I mean, 4 quarters, you have 4 people, you start them every game no matter what, because that's all that is used. There's no James Washington being used. There's no other running backs being used. Like, there's really not much going on there. So just start those 4 and call it a day. And Cincinnati's defense, it is good, but it's also bad at times. You never know which one's going to show up. They're the aspect that doesn't always show up every week. So it could be an off week for them, and the Steelers go off. They could be nasty this week, and the Steelers could struggle, but there's only going to be 4 of them, so odds are they'll do something. On the Bengals side, the Steelers D is phenomenal. The one thing they struggle with are deep passes. So I think this is a T. Higgins and Jamar Chase week. Joe Burrow, you can get away with starting. You're not going to sit him. He's been on fire all season long. But I wouldn't feel the greatest about it. If you have another option, as long as it's a good matchup, I might go the other option. But if all you have is Joe, I mean, most leagues you only carry 1 quarterback. He's going to be perfectly fine. God, Joe Mixon has been on fire. You can't sit him. This dude is scoring. He scored in like his last 7 games straight or something crazy like that. So you ride the hot hand and you start Joe Mixon. So the ones I feel comfortable with starting are probably Chase and Mixon. I don't hate the T. Higgins call here. And Burrow you can get away with if you absolutely have to. And then the next game we have the Buccaneers versus the Colts. I actually think this is going to be a shootout. We had the over/under set at 53, so Vegas thinks it's a shootout as well. And we had the Bucs favored by 3. I think this is a trap. I think the Colts are going to be the underdog play of the week for most people, and I think that they are wrong. The one thing the Colts do well is run the football. The thing you cannot do on the Buccaneers, no matter who you are, is run the football. So I think JTT is going to really, really struggle this week. I know he might find the end zone and be fine fantasy-wise. Otherwise, he's really not going to have a 5-touchdown game like he did last week. The Colts, where you can beat them, their pass rush is okay, but their secondary is not very good. And I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are probably going to have a field day. Gronk, the Colts give up a lot of points to the tight end. So Gronk is going to have a field day. All their pass catchers are going to run absolutely wild. I don't feel 100% confident with Lenny, because I think the game plan is going to be to just toss it, run through the air, essentially. So that being said, I am going to take the Bucs here. Yeah, I'll take the Bucs here at -3, just a field goal game. In regards to fantasy, just as kind of aforementioned, you're not going to sit Jonathan Taylor. Let's not like be crazy here, but you're going to temper expectations there. In the Colts side, you throw on the Buccaneers. I don't trust Carson Wentz. He will throw a few picks, but the Bucs secondary is a little rough too. They're getting healthier, but they're still not 100%. So at that point, you can get away with starting like a Michael Pittman, and then I call it a day. I wouldn't get too cute there. I wouldn't play with anyone else in the passing game. Someone is going to go off most likely. It's just I feel like it's going to be a Pittman game. Otherwise, on the Buck side, you're going to start Mike Evans without thinking about it. You're going to start Chris Godwin without thinking. I think Godwin is going to go absolutely crazy this game. You can probably get away with starting Tom Brady, but again, their pass rush is pretty decent, and getting the Brady isn't exactly the hardest thing in the world. So I'd probably just start Pittman and Taylor on the Colts side, and just Evans, Godwin's, and Gronk is going to go off this game. He's going to end up being like a top 5 tight end this week. So make sure if you have Gronk, some even have Gronk floating around in the waiver wire because he's been hurt for a while. If he's there, take him and start him. This dude's going to go absolutely insane this week. And then the next game, we have the Panthers going up against the Dolphins. We have the Panthers as -2.5 favorites. Okay, I see it. And then the over-under set at 42. I probably like lean the over here, but in regards to an actual bet perspective, I do like the Panthers quite a bit here. The Dolphins are pretty tough to throw on, but they can't really stop the run. The Panthers have a run-first quarterback and the best running back in the league, and Christian McCaffrey. So, matchups are everything. Styles make fights, and at this juncture, I think this is going to be a dog fight that's tailor-made for the Panthers. So them being less than a field goal favorite, I like this quite a bit. It might end up being one of the locks of the night. We actually have, on a fantasy perspective, Christian McCaffrey's going to lose his mind. Cam is probably going to vulture a touchdown. That's what he does. You can get away with DJ Moore. In all honesty, yeah, the Dolphin secondary is pretty good, but they don't really throw to anyone else. I'm not trusting Robbie yet. On the Dolphins side, Panthers D is weird. Like, they're good, but they're a little shaky at times. So you could probably get away with Waddle. I think he's going to go off. And in regard to their run defense, it's not the greatest. However, the Dolphins aren't the greatest running team. So Gaskin is kind of an enigma this week. I wouldn't start him unless you have to. He's always just going to be a flex play for me. But if you're in a pinch and you have to start him, he's not the absolute worst. I would just avoid it if at all possible. And then the next game, we have the Titans versus the Patriots. Patriots -7 favorites. Over under set at 43.5. And this is a dog play for the Titans, baby. I don't think the Patriots cover 7. The Titans aren't good. I think they're overrated. I think the Patriots aren't good. I think they're overrated. However, what the Titans seem to do is to find a way to win. Good teams find a way to win. No matter what my perspective is on the Titans being overrated, I can't say that they're a bad team by any means. They're kind of like the Ravens here, and I don't think the Ravens are good, but they keep finding a way to win. And even if the Titans don't win this game, I think they lose by less than 7. I know they have no A.J. Brown. I know Derrick Henry's out for the rest of the regular season. I mean, they're banged up. It's really, really bad. But let's not pretend like the Patriots are some super team. I don't think the Patriots are that good. Mac Jones is overrated. The receiving core is god awful. Their run game is good. It's not like Damian Harris and Stevenson are like alphas and just top 10 running backs in the league. They're not. They're good. Their defense is good, but it's not like a top 10 it's not a top 5 defense. So like at that juncture, they're just good everywhere. But I think the Titans can make it ugly somehow, some way. Mike Vrabel knows that offensive defense like the back of his hand, considering he played there. I think they're going to find a way. Maybe the over is a little shaky. Maybe it's better to just stay away from that over-under. But I don't think the Patriots cover 7. Something is just screaming to me that they don't cover 7. And sometimes you just have to follow your gut without any sort of rhyme or reason, no logic behind it. So I will take the Titans to cover. Fantasy perspective, you can start Damian Harris. In a pinch, you can start Ramondre Stevenson. That's it. I'm not playing the roulette game of the Patriots receivers on the Titans end. I guess you could start like Westbrook, Akeen. They're gonna have to throw at some point. I don't know who else they're gonna throw to. Maybe it's an Anthony Firsker game. I don't know what the Titans are about to do, but they're gonna find a way to make this gross. I don't know how, but Damian Hilliard goes off. I don't know. Someone's good, or sorry, Hilliard goes off. Someone's gonna go off, and I don't understand who, but it's going to happen somehow. That's just the way the Titans work. So I'll take the Titans to cover, and I'm not happy about anyone in a fantasy perspective in this game. So maybe the under is the way to go now that I'm looking at it a little more in depthly. All right, and then the next game, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the New York Giants. We have the Eagles at -3.5 favorites. Over under set at 45.5. I came in ready to fade the Eagles because I thought that they would be like a touchdown favorite because they're the new hotness right now. 3.5 has me pondering what to do. I think the Eagles win, but I felt like they were going to win and not cover. 3.5 is kind of an odd number here. Oh, God. The Giants love winning in division games, and this at home, it's set up perfectly. It's just they're a little banged up right now. Kadarius Toney is not going to play. Sterling Shepard is not going to play. Kenny G, even if he's physically there, he's not mentally there. He's not going to play. Saquon's going to try his hardest. Daniel Jones is going to do Danny Dimes things, look good and then fumble, and look good and then throw a pick. That's what he does. Eagle side, Jalen Hurts is the #1 fantasy quarterback in the league right now. Devontae Smith should go off. Dallas Goedert looks good. Just because of the injuries, I'm not going to fade the Eagles the way I wanted to. I'll have them cover. I'll pick them to cover and win. But again, fantasy perspective, Eagles side, you start Jalen, you start Goddard, you start Smith. And honestly, you can get away with starting Miles Sanders this week. He's not the greatest this year, but I think he can do well this matchup. Giant side, I'm probably starting Saquon and calling it a day. If all their in very desperate times with all of their receivers literally being out, every single one of them, you can start Evan Ingram. We saw that they looked his way when they had no receivers in that Monday night game, or was it a Sunday night game a few weeks back? They looked Evan Ingram's way. So you could do that as well, but that's out of necessity, not because of the talent. Right. Then the next game is one that I want absolutely no part of. We have the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Falcons are 2-point favorites, over under set at 46. God, this is the trickiest one of the week. I'll lean with Vegas and go with Falcons here just because it's under a field goal. And because this is the caliber of team that the Falcons beat. They've beaten all teams with losing records, and then they beat this. Well, the Saints have a losing record now too, I think so. They've only beaten teams with losing records, and the Jaguars meet that criteria. I don't feel good about it. I'm not going to run and bet it, but if I had to lean aside, that's what I would do. Over under at 46. I might take the over there. I think this game could hit the over just barely. In regards to a fantasy perspective, you can start Kyle Pitts, even though it's not my favorite when he's by himself. You don't really have a choice from where you drafted him, and you can play Cordell Patterson because for whatever reason he's Christian McCaffrey light this year. So I have no problem with those two, and I'd call it a day. If you're looking for a really cheap defense and DFS, you could even get away with either one of these defenses. On the Jacksonville side, you can start, I think, with the absence of Agnew, Chenault goes back into that slot receiver role, and it has been proven whoever is in the slot goes off. So I think Chenault could go off this week potentially. James Robinson is a beast. You can start James Robinson. Marvin Jones, God damn it. I don't know what to do with this guy. Every week it feels like he could potentially go off, and he never does. If it absolute desperation, start Marvin Jones. Otherwise, just stay away and just let it happen. And then the next game is one that is a contender for worst game of the week. Back to back here, we had the New York Football Jets going up against the Houston Texans. Houston minus 2.5 favorites. I think this was even until Houston destroyed the Titans. So at that juncture, the line movements, usually I take the other side here, but the other side is the New York Jets led by Zach Wilson. I just don't think I can do that. I think the Texans with Tyrod Taylor is a different team. And you can see it. I mean, both their wins are with Tyrod Taylor. Over under set at 44.5. I can see a backdoor. Like I can see the Texans getting up and then the Jets having to score to keep up and kind of covering it there. But I don't want to play with that over under either. There's not a lot of over unders I like this week. So I'll go ahead and I'll take the Texans to cover the minus 2.5 just because it's under a field goal. Fantasy perspective, you can keep riding Elijah Mitchell and see what happens. He was going off with like Mike White and Joe Flacco. It was not with Zach Wilson, but ride the hot hand. He's been going off as of late. In regards to the run game, I think you can get away with Ty Johnson this week as a really cheap DFS play. Otherwise, season long, I don't know if I wouldn't want to. I feel like you have better options out there, but he's a desperation flex if you need it. In regards to the Texans, you can start Brandon Cooks. I think you can start Tyrod Taylor. You can stream him this week. And then that's probably it. I'm calling it there. Not a lot of fantasy value in this game. So the pick is going to be the Texans. The bet would be the Texans to cover. Right. But the next game is probably going to be one of the first overs I take. We have the Chargers going up against the Broncos. Chargers minus 2.5 favorites. Over under set at 47.5. I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. For whatever reason, the Broncos, they're not bad. I don't think they're absolutely terrible. But at the same time, you can say the same thing for the Chargers. They're good. They're not great. They're good. So it's an okay team going up against a good team. The Chargers should win here, but Denver likes to just stir the pot a little. So I don't know if I can't guarantee the Chargers win, but I do think both offenses score. The Chargers struggle against the run. The Broncos kind of struggle with their defense at times. So that's where I'm getting the shootout perspective. On the Chargers side, you're going to start Austin Eckler. You're going to start Justin Herbert. You're going to start Keenan Allen. You, I guess, have to start Mike Williams. I don't feel great about it, but you can. Yeah, and then I'm probably calling it. In regards to the Broncos, God, I'd be shocked if Melvin Gordon doesn't score here. If they get on like the one, they're going to make sure that Melvin scores against his old team. So I like Melvin Gordon here. Javonte, I like to an extent. I think Javonte is probably at this day and age the better running back, but Melvin's serviceable. So I hate how it's just a 50-50. They're just taking away from each other, but you can get away with starting both. But I think Melvin's going to be the one to score here. In regards to the passing game, Tim Patrick just keeps doing the damn thing, so you can get away with starting him. And that's probably it on there. Noah Fant. Start Noah Fant. I'm sorry, I do apologize. I forgot. Start Noah Fant as well. He's kind of heating up here. But the pick is going to be I'll take the home team in the Broncos, but I would bet the over. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with that. Then the next game we have the Los Angeles Rams going up against the Green Bay Packers. We have the Rams as minus 1.5 favorites, home or road favorites going up against the Green Bay Packers at plus 1.5. Over under set at 47. I'm not going to touch the over under just because I don't know who's playing on the Packers. I know Rodgers hasn't been practicing, but says he's going to play. I don't know how good he's going to look with like the turf toe thing he has going on. Aaron Jones is 50-50 to play. He's a game time decision. Don't know if he's going to play. AJ Dillon is fine in his absence, but Aaron Jones is a little bit better, so that does make a difference. But that Rodgers situation, I don't know how good he's going to look hurt. And the Rams come after you. He can't really move with that. So having Aaron Donald and God, you're going to have Ramsey covering Adams. You have a hurt quarterback. You have Von Miller and Aaron Donald running at you. I just don't think it's going to be a good night for the Packers. So I'll actually take the Rams to cover and to win. Fantasy perspective, you start Cooper Kupp because he's ungodly this year. Um, I'm gonna wait to see the Odell experiment. Darrell Henderson, you can get away with starting. And God, Tyler Higbee is so touchdown or bust. He's just a normal tight end. You can start him if you have him. Otherwise, I'm not excited about it. The Packers side, I don't care about the hurt quarterback and tough matchup. You're going to start Devontae Adams no matter what. Outside of that, if Aaron Jones is not there, AJ Dillon is still a decent play. I'd temper your expectation a little bit. The Rams aren't the worst against the run. But at the same time, if he's the only show in town, he'll get the touches and volume. It conquers everything. Otherwise, I just can't trust MVS. I don't know if Alan Lazard is playing. I think he's still out. I can't trust Equinemius St. Brown. I can't trust any of these other receivers. So Devontae Adams and AJ Dillon if he's by himself. If he's not and Aaron Jones is there, I feel like it's going to be split and favor AJ, and they're going to kind of ease Aaron back in. So I really don't want to start either one at that point, but you're going to start Aaron Jones if you drafted him in the first round. So hopefully he just sits and you have a clear path with AJ Dillon. All right. Then the next game, we have the Minnesota Vikings going up against the 49ers. 49ers 3-point favorites, and this is a trap. Give me the dogs, baby. Give me the Vikings as dogs. 3-point dogs. And I think they're going to cover over under 49. I think that hits too. I think this is another shootout game. I think this is going to be one of my favorite games to watch this week. On the Viking side, you're going to start Dalvin Cook. You're going to start Adam Thielen. You're going to start Justin Jefferson, killing it this year. Tight end, again, you can start Tyler Conklin, get away with it. And I think you can stream Kirk Cousins. I think you can fire them all up. 49ers side, I need to know what's going on there. I don't know if Elijah Mitchell is playing or not. If not, I know Jeff Wilson kind of disappointed last week, but I'd fire him up again if he's by himself. In regards to the receiving game, Brandon Ayuk is hit or miss every other week, and he was a hit last week, but the Vikings don't have the greatest secondary, so you can flex him in. And Debo, you're going to start because this dude's like the wide receiver one this year. This dude's insane. I don't know what that more hurt he gets, the better he plays. So I don't know if he goes down with like a leg injury in the first quarter, just get excited because that means he's going to come back all hulked up. I don't know what they're shooting him up with in the side. It can't be legal, but it's effective. So start Debo. Jimmy G has been a good quarterback the last few games. You can stream Jimmy G in all honesty. I don't know how or why, but you can. And George Kittle is a man. You're going to start George Kittle no matter what. All right. Then the next game, we have the Browns going up against the Ravens. We have the Ravens at -3.5, and that half means something to me. Over under set at 47. These games are generally a shootout. I think the Browns are banged up and aren't reaching their potential. I think the Ravens, as aforementioned, are a little overrated. 3.5 is a sketchy line. I hate those halves. I'll just take the over. I'll hope that the over trend continues with this matchup. For whatever reason, they always put up points. So that's the way I'll lean because I don't really want to play around with that 3.5 with Baltimore. In regards to a fantasy perspective, start Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt's supposed to come back. You can start Kareem Hunt. I don't like any of their receivers. What Baltimore does is give up big bombs down the field twice a game. They give up like a 50-yard touchdown every single time. They can't help it. And they do it like it's like once a half. They have a big play. I would say that's custom made for Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he's hurt. I don't know if he's playing. I think Anthony Schwartz comes back this week, so you could potentially, if Donovan Peoples-Jones is not playing, I'm going to fire up Anthony Schwartz because he's going to be the one that's going to catch the big bomb. And honestly, he could catch both. Jarvis, that's not really his game. So I'm contingent on the injury report. I am going to start Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then the big bomb. If it's just Schwartz out there that goes deep, I'm going to start him. At least in DFS. I think it's a fabulous play. Raven side, Lamar's back, so you're going to start Lamar. I don't think Hollywood's playing. So at that point, fire up Rashad Bateman. This dude's getting like 8 targets a game. Lamar loves him. He didn't get it from Huntley, but he will get it from Lamar, especially if he's the only show in town. Well, he's not the only show in town. The tight end, is he the tight end one of the year? Mark Andrews? Start Mark Andrews. This dude is a stud. He's going to catch a touchdown this game. So make sure you start Mark Andrews as well. And I'd call it a day there. And then that already takes us to the last game of the week. We have the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Washington football team. Over under set at 46.5. That's because of hurt Russ, probably. Line is even. I think that's off. I know everyone is inspired by the Washington football team performance last week against the Panthers, but I think you look at these games and the Packers played well when Rodgers went out. The first game, Russ was gone. I don't think the Seahawks won, but they played really well against the Steelers. No one saw it coming. You look at the Raiders when they first lost. John Gruden. They came out and they won. Washington football team, they lost Chase Young. The next game they came out and won. They always look good when they're down and out. The team rallies together every time this year. Win or lose, it's a close game. Problem is that was Washington's game last week, and then they kind of fall apart the second time. And I think it's tailor-made for that. I do think the Seahawks are gonna win this game, and I think Russ is just getting healthier and healthier, and Washington odds are gonna go down and down. So if Russ is healthy enough, DK and Tyler Lockett should absolutely smash. Washington's a little tough to run on, but Seattle can't really run right now without Chris Carson anyway. Alex Collins is serviceable, but I don't want to start him by any means. What do they have? Travis Homer. I think other people are hurt too in that backfield. So I think you have Alex Collins and Travis Homer right now, or DJ Dallas. Either way, that's not where they're going to beat you. They're going to beat you through the air. And that's where Washington is susceptible. So I will pick the Seahawks to win here. Over under at 46.5. I think the over can hit, in all honesty. Taylor Heineke can put up points, and I think this might end up being a shootout with him and Russ. In regards to fantasy, you can start Russ. I know he's hurt, but I think that it's been 2 weeks and he's getting healthier and healthier. You saw flashes last game of old Russ, and I think this time you'll see like old Russ for like 75% of the game, and I think that's enough to beat the football team right now without Chase Young. You can start DK. I think DK is going to lose his mind. And Lockett, he's always 50-50. I have a lot of Lockett shares. I think he can go off this week. So I would definitely start him if you have him. Be prepared. He might disappoint you, but he might go off. It's one of the two. He's either going to make you super, super happy or super, super pissed. There's no in between there. But him and DK should go off, and Russ. In regards, I'm not going to play with their tight ends. And then in regards to Washington, you start Terry McLaurin. He's a beast. You can start Antonio Gibson. And you can stream Taylor Heineke, in all honesty. Logan Thomas, they do hyper target the tight end position. So you can honestly get away with starting Logan Thomas coming back as well. But the pick is still going to be the Seahawks to win the game. And it's probably the over is probably going to hit. And that's week 12, baby. I hope that everyone has a phenomenal week. I hope everyone has things to be thankful for in reference to our cash flow. Just remember, the picks officially are going to go up over on Instagram, over on Twitter. Probably go over on TikTok as well. Get everything situated for you. And otherwise, keep an eye out, make some bets, and make some money, baby.